I'm Maria Menounos, and you're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Hey everybody, I'm Rachel Goodman here for another week of Restless Wrap. It has been a crazy week in Genoa City. We've had a couple of breakups, we've had more with Sharon's cancer scare, and just an all-around very intense week. And we've had some intense weeks, but I usually don't say that because but this week has just been absolutely nuts. All right, so let's dive right in. I just want to give a shout out to everybody in the chat. You guys have been amazing, not just today. We already have a conversation going in here, but in general, on the @RestlessWrap Facebook page, we have had so much chat interaction on there. And I just want to say thank you to everybody who's on that site, the page on Facebook, and leaving comments and liking everything that I post. You guys are really rocking it out. And so for anybody who's not on the Facebook page, it is @RestlessWrap. That's RestlessWrap. Definitely head over there because this week I could not contain myself from I just had to talk about Lola and Kyle because I was this is exactly what I wanted to happen, but I wanted to share it with you guys and get your opinions on it even a couple days ago when I first watched. So it was awesome having that there and being able to talk to you guys. We had, I'm just gonna read some of that conversation in case you guys missed it, but basically I just posted for thoughts about Lola and Kyle and their breakup, and Mary Dell said the writers should have not done that storyline, especially knowing how Lola grew up without her dad. Shame on them. Mary also said, so confusing, but I'm happy Theo stopped Lola, not like Kyle and Summer hitting the hay right away. He will continue to do so till he gets one pregnant, and who will be the daddy? Yeah. Farah, who is actually our host here for a long time, Farah says, yes, excited. And then we also have a comment from Todd. He said, Summer and Kyle will not last. They will get bored of each other. Happens all the time, like Victoria and Billy. Well, we're going to talk about Victoria and Billy too, because there's some drama there. But before I dive in, I just want to give a shout out to everybody in the chat right now. We've got Kenneth Clark, we've got Hubby Joe, we've got Mary, we've got Aaron Brody, we've got Susan Russo. Let me make sure I listed everybody's names here. I believe I did, but if you are here and I did not say your name, just feel free to let me know when you stop in, or if you are here, and I will give you a shout out. I just scrolled down to the bottom of the chat, and Aaron Brody says finally they're divorcing. Yeah, so let's talk about Cola, or should I say hashtag no longer Cola, because they are donezo. I was excited about it, and so normally when I do the show, I watch either on Saturday or I watch I try to watch in the morning on Sunday, so that way it's fresh in my head. But I was seeing all the spoilers on Twitter, and because I found out what was happening ahead of time, I actually watched early, and then I rewatched with Hubby Joe this morning. So I loved, okay, maybe I shouldn't say love. That's a very strong word to say you love when a couple's breaking up. I'm very happy that Kyle finally came out with the fact that he does still care about Summer. I think what bothered me the most, if we go back to the moment when he married Summer and they actually seem to have this deep relationship beyond just a commitment to each other based on what Summer was doing for Lola with the kidney transplant, just everything around it. I think what bothered me is that Kyle and Summer did have this very deep relationship. Kyle was very protective of Summer. They seemed to very much be in love, but Kyle was obviously sneaking around, breaking his promise to Summer, and going off and seeing Lola. And so that was shady. But now, fast forward to this week and everything that happened with Kyle finally admitting, Summer is in my head. And that when Kyle and Lola finally had that talk, that Kyle actually said, Lola and Kyle both admitted to each other that they know that they are not right for each other. And that's a huge step to take. And the thing is that I think the only thing that bugs me about it, I'm not exactly complaining because I'm glad it happened, but what bugs me is that Kyle He went from, even so much as when he was away with Summer and they had that kiss, he went from being Lola, Lola, Lola to suddenly this week when Lola came in to talk to him, he was really quick to just kind of build this wall and like block Lola out and say, no, I don't want to take a break to talk to you. Even when he first came back to Genoa City after San Francisco, I feel like his attitude, just the time, like, and I'm assuming it was about a week that he's been back from San Francisco, maybe a couple weeks. It's hard to kind of gauge the timeline because they did not specifically say, but just in that time that he's been back, even from him coming back, seeing Lola, saying, hey, we need to talk, and then now, like this week when we had everything, blow up, Kyle just completely changed. So what I'm doing is taking the benefit of the doubt here and just, sometimes we don't, because we're not reading a book and we're just seeing these characters, sometimes what we're missing is what they are internally processing and going through. And so my guess is that after the kiss, Kyle came back, he had a chance to really just be alone and think and process what had happened and process Summer's words. And for whatever reason, of all the time Summer tried to say you and Lola aren't right for each other, I just think that finally, like between the issues that Kyle and Lola were having, and not just with Summer in the picture, but also Theo, because Lola can't, like, here's another issue I have, is that Lola keeps denying that she had any feelings for Theo when obviously, though she would not have cheated, I don't believe Lola would have cheated on Kyle. There was obviously something that Lola felt for Theo and feels for Theo. Like, it doesn't mean that she loves the guy, but it's enough where Lola really can't complain anymore that there is another interested party in Kyle, because it wasn't just Summer and Kyle, it was Summer and Kyle and then Theo and Lola too. So I just feel like, though, getting back to my original point with Kyle, he just, between everything, and I think that was Summer and her words, and then, Theo and Lola, and just every little thing just kind of made him realize, okay, yeah, the honeymoon is over, but on top of that, now that he has to realistically look at this, like, okay, I'm in a committed relationship. Do I want to commit to this anymore? And do I want to commit to this person? And I think that Kyle is finally realizing that without the drama, there was no real appeal to Lola, which is a shame because he never should have done this to her. And that is one thing that I am taking away from this breakup, is that it is clearly affecting Lola much more than it's affecting Kyle. Not to say that Kyle isn't distraught, because I do think that he loves Lola. I don't think that he only loved Summer and that everything he felt for Lola was fake, but I don't think that he could have ever loved Lola the way that he will always love Summer. And fortunately, he's recognizing all of this now. I am very concerned what's going to happen, though, because, yeah, like right now, here's the thing with Summer, is that she's obviously very manipulative. She probably will always be like that. She has moments where she is not, though, and where she's very sweet, and where she, like, I saw the way that Summer was when she was married to Kyle, so I see how she can be. But the thing is that I also see I also remember the moments when she first came back to Genoa City, where she was playing Kyle, and where she would, say, hey, I want to sleep with you, and then start all this stuff with him, and then suddenly, as they're about to sleep together, push him away. And I get it, she's been burned, and maybe she was in a different place back then where she couldn't allow someone she genuinely loved to come in, and that was her way of blocking them out. And it took everything for her to realize, no, like, I really love this person. I get that, but I'm still concerned that the moment that Kyle decides he wants to be with Summer is the moment she's going to decide she does not want to be with him. And yeah, so I'm very, very concerned with that. Let's tune in with the chat, because I just said a lot, and I'm sure you guys have a lot to say about all my opinions here. Mary, Kyle will get bored with Summer very soon. It will not last. Aaron Brody, Kyle is a hoe. That should be added. I'm going to do something here. I did this last week, but yeah, we have our law moment, which comes up at the end. But some of these comments, you guys I'm going to add them to the law moment, because they should definitely be there. Aaron Brody, I'm just glad I don't have to skip over their scenes anymore. Todd Beaton, Summer got bored of Kyle. She does all the time. Susan Russo, I think the photo Summer gave Kyle for his birthday was a very calculated reminder from Summer. Yeah, I think so too. And, that kind of brings up a good point, is that every single time that Summer did these things, Lola did let it go. And that was why, this is how it escalated to their divorce. Well, they're not divorced yet, but their decision to divorce was the fact that Lola knew that the fact that Kyle wouldn't tell her immediately about a kiss with Summer, that something had changed, because Summer has been nothing but cool about these things happening. She even referenced the time that Summer kissed Kyle, and the point was not that, not this time, but like when we had the Molly incident, when Summer went and kissed Kyle. The point wasn't that Lola was mad about that. The point was that she was so understanding about it because she knew it wasn't Kyle's fault. And for Kyle to not tell her about a kiss this time meant that Kyle was thinking, oh, I actually feel bad about this, and that there was something deeper there. Okay, here we go. Kenneth Clark, Sasha, aka Lola. Sasha is the actress who plays Lola. Sasha, aka Lola, in the episodes just blew me away. She makes us feel Lola's emotions. Is just amazing. Yeah. Todd Beaton, it's Sharon Case's birthday today. Oh, cool. So Sharon Case plays Sharon on The Young and the Restless, and we're going to talk about her because talk about an incredible performance. That the final episode of this week, we will get there, but it had to do with Sharon. But just kind of hold that in the back of your mind. We'll talk about it in a second. Kenneth Clark, do you have a favorite Sharon moment? Mine is definitely the Cassie death scene. She should have won an Emmy in 2005. Her Josh and Cam killed it in those scenes. I'm going to say, and this is probably because we just watched it, but I am going to guess that what we saw on Friday with the cancer scare, and not just the cancer scare, but the dream and like seeing Cassie and the way that Sharon was reacting to it, it was such an emotional performance and was incredible. And that has been burned into my mind. So I'm going to say that's one of my favorites, but we'll talk about Sharon, in a little bit more in a bit here too. Cubby Joe, Kyle is a pig and does not understand commitment. He is just in it for the thrill of the chase. And that's the concern I have. My only thing is that I do genuinely believe that Summer and Kyle should be together, and I want them to be together. I'm just worried because I know how they can both be, but at least it's Summer and Kyle. And I feel like it's kind of like when we had Billy and Phyllis. There's like a dangerous element that each of these people brings to a relationship, and so it can probably go on for a while. So I think that in the right circumstances, Summer and Kyle could be great together, but I hope what they do with it, and this really isn't a prediction because what I think is going to happen and what I want to happen are two different things. What I want to happen is that Summer and Kyle will decide that they can't date, and that they will just kind of, they'll have these feelings for each other and maybe they'll hook up, but for a long time, they just leave it there and they don't actually jump into a relationship. Because another thing that I appreciate when the soaps do is when people wait a while before actually jumping in, because then it gets into those hairy elements of being a rebound, and nobody wants to be a rebound. I know, different circumstance because this is Summer, and Summer and Kyle have been together and known each other for a long time, but I really hope that they just kind of play it where, okay, no, we're gonna have Summer and Kyle kind of like, want to be together, but just kind of hold it away. I don't think that's what they're gonna do, though, unfortunately. But I'll get to what I think they're gonna do in predictions later. Okay, Aaron Brody, my favorite Sharon moment was when she hosted Victor's fake funeral and then married Tucker in the same day and asked everyone to stay for the wedding. That was hilarious. Todd Beaton, when Sharon and Phyllis fight with chocolate. And then Aaron says there's a lot of Sharon moments on the show. It's hard to remember them all. Yeah, that's true too. Hubby Joe, Summer and Kyle. Hashtag Keimer. Ooh, that's a good one. Hashtag Keimer. Well, I am all for Keimer. I just want them to get together in a way that we can see them together for a while, because to me, they are endgame the way that Sharon and Nick are endgame, and the way that Nikki and Victor are endgame. I just, and like Farrah and I were talking about this a while ago too. It's hard because they never keep couples together because I guess the writers feel that it won't be enough drama and they like the tension. And yeah, that's true. And that's kind of what we're dealing with Victoria and Billy, who let's go ahead and talk about them next. But first, I just want to give a big shout out to everybody who is watching at home, writing in the chat, and just, being amazing co-hosts and being part of the show. You are my favorite part of AfterBuzz, and you make us the ESPN of TV talk. If you haven't done so already, which I know most of the people in the chat have, but for anyone who hasn't, you can follow, subscribe. We have multiple channels. I know I see Susan Russo and other people in some of the other shows I do too. We have got shows like Ray Donovan, which season 7 just finished, so maybe that's a bad example, but we've got Doctor Who, we've got Stumptown, we've got all the reality TV shows that people are covering. We cover the binge shows. Narcos Mexico season 2 is coming back on the 13th. Outlander is returning on Sunday the 16th. So for every show, any show that you guys are watching, we're covering it. So be sure to follow, subscribe, give us 5 stars on iTunes because the other stars don't work. But thank you guys again for being a part of AfterBuzz and for helping us grow, learn, and continue the way that we are. So thank you all. Let's talk about Billy and Victoria because I'm just going to say that I think that for me, I'm kind of going off the whole situation where they tend to break couples up. I feel like they didn't know what to do with Billy, and now they have him in the situation where, okay, he's done with Victoria, but on top of that, he might end up with Amanda. And speaking of Amanda, we saw the return of her stalker ex, Ripley. So I love how Ripley was like, oh, I didn't break in. Someone let me in. I asked housekeeping. No. Pretty sure that is breaking in. You don't have to physically break down a door to break in. I mean, that's a little off. And the fact that, to me, it's just creepy that he would know what hotel room she was in. Yeah, unless you're in Vegas, most hotels don't make you show your ID or the key card to get into the room when you're going to the elevators. But even so, how would he have known what hotel room she was in unless he followed her earlier and watched her go, where she was going? But then, even so, I know that they don't mention a lot of hotels on Genoa City, but I'm presuming they do have multiple hotels. So then how did he know which hotel she was staying at? Obviously, he is just the uber stalker, was watching her every move, somehow found her. We know that people have been watching her. It's just kind of unclear right now because we know that Victor was taking her picture with Billy. So now maybe this guy, Ripley, was also kind of taking her picture and following her and stalking her. And I know he mentioned there was some kind of tracker on her. So maybe that's how he found her, how did he get access to the tracker? And then also too, I get that Amanda wouldn't want to just call the cops on him and that in that moment she'd be really scared. But, I think I understand her being afraid to make a move in that moment that he's there with her because he could, 1, he's obviously very manipulative, but 2, who knows what he would have done to her if she had really pressed too hard that she was going to call the cops. And it doesn't matter that he's never been physical with her. And I love how he stressed that, it made him a good guy. I'm sorry, but just because you can abuse someone in other ways, it isn't always a physical abuse. You can emotionally, abuse somebody. You can gaslight a person. And he seems exactly to be that type. Someone who gaslights somebody else and then never accepts that he is the one at fault. So I was very happy when Billy showed up and Amanda made the right choice to have him stay for, protection. Not that Amanda should have anybody else there to protect her per se. But sometimes having at least another person with you, it's strength in numbers, and so it really does help to get out of a bad situation like that. And I'm glad that Ripley left and that Billy stayed the night. And I think that they are definitely pushing the Amanda and Billy romance element. I would actually be interested in seeing that. It seems like they could be a good couple, but obviously they shouldn't jump into anything right now, considering all the baggage both of them have. But down the road, it would be interesting to see them get together. But of course, it would prove or confirm all of Victoria's suspicions. My only other question is, the moment when Victor told Victoria that he saw receipts of Billy going to a motel, we haven't seen that. As far as we know, and as far as the conversations we've heard with Billy and Amanda, they have not slept together. Presumably, they didn't stay in a motel together either until that night where she asked him to stay. But Victor said that there was receipts of Billy staying in a motel room, which could be maybe secret gambling meetings. Maybe there's another woman. I didn't really think there'd be someone else, though. But obviously, Billy's doing some shady things that we might not be privy to yet. So I do think that it's interesting they're planting the seed now. Either that or Victor just completely lied to Victoria so that she would break it off. Because she was kind of up in the air about it until that conversation with Victor. So that could be exactly what happened there. Aaron Brody, Ripley looks like a ghetto wannabe rapper from the 90s. He seemed like a jerk. Like that was just the vibe I got off of him. Like just really like, he thinks he's a smooth talker. He knows how to talk to people and get them to do what he wants, and just really just overall seemed very, very like such a jerk. Susan Russo, I thought Amanda had a tracker on Ripley's car. Remember, she was on her laptop at Society following a car route. Yeah, that's so in other words, it wouldn't make sense that Ripley would know where she is unless he somehow did the same thing to her and had a tracker. But that does say something, though, that she would have to place a tracker on his car to be concerned, to make sure that he was nowhere near her. Aaron Brody, right, Susan, she was tracking his car on her laptop. Aaron also says, I want Billy and Amanda together. I like them being together. Yeah, I do too. I'd like to see it. Just because that's the problem with Billy too. And I think we were talking about this last week, but Billy reminds me of Kyle. And in that when they're in relationships, they need the drama, and they need a certain type of person to keep them excited and interested. And I feel like Victoria and Lola are similar too, in that they are the person who is very reliable, who is always consistent. Their emotions are consistent. There isn't going to be a lot of drama. They're reasonable people, unless you piss them off. But who isn't? Who doesn't get upset when they're pissed off? But otherwise, they're just very very calm and rational people. And not that Amanda isn't, because she is also very rational. And she just unlike Hillary, she is just very she just has a very very introspective way of looking at things. Not that Hillary didn't, but I could not see Amanda being one to get into drama. But so I guess my whole point is that I'm not sure that it will last with Amanda and Billy, but it would be interesting to see them try it and actually go out. Plus we have Nate on the sidelines, so it would make it a little bit, there would be some drama there, and it would make it pretty interesting. And then of course we'd get everybody who is very concerned about this, Amanda and Billy dating, and then we might see Victoria doing some rash things, plus Victor, because we know he's kind of been watching her. So I just think that would bring a lot of drama to the show in a good way. Kenneth says, Christian, aka Ridley, is such a great actor. I have seen him in movies before. Aaron, they both, Ripley and Amanda, were both tracking each other. Yeah, that I could believe that. And or it could just be a situation where there's Amanda's maybe still not over Ripley, and they end up back together for a little bit because we saw the kind of control he had over her in that one little scene. So I wouldn't be surprised if that happens either. Okay, just really briefly, let me just touch on Sharon before we move on to our segments. Sharon, I talked about this a little bit before. I just want to add that I think what especially stood out to me is the fact that Sharon was all about not letting her family anywhere near her because she didn't want to feel like a victim, and she didn't want to hurt them and have them waiting on her hand and foot. And then she had this dream with the visitation from Cassie, and it woke her up to make her realize that no, the only way that she would really be losing her family is if she does push them away the way that she is. So it was a very emotional episode. It was how we ended the week, and I just really hope this is it's a very hard thing to watch somebody going through cancer, especially for all of us who have friends and family who went through the disease. It's just very, very hard. And so I just hope that she does. I hope that she gets through this. Otherwise, it will be, obviously real life is not always the case, but it will, it's just very heartbreaking to watch this kind of play out. Okay, on that somber note, let's get to our segments. The first thing we're going to touch on is our news.
AfterBuzz TV News.
Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about, it was actually Eric Braeden's 40th anniversary on The Young and the Restless. There's an article on TV Insider where he had an interview, and they had a whole bunch of events to celebrate this on set. But in the interview, I just want to read a little bit here. The interviewer said, "Congratulations on 40 years. You commented once about the passage of time, how it feels different when you're working on a daytime drama." And he said, "Yes, the show has its own timeline and doesn't correspond to what's going on in the real world. Furthermore, you work on these 2 stages at the studio and you have no sense of chronology of what time of day it is or what month it is. But then as soon as the scene you're shooting is over, you leave and you turn on the news and you're back in real life." So I just wanted to read that to kind of honor him. The other piece of news is that, well, one, it's Sharon Case's birthday, as we mentioned in the chat, but also didn't even plan this on purpose, but there was an interview with Sharon Case where she was talking about the cancer battle and her reunion with Cassie. Now, as we know, Cameron Grimes, who played Cassie and also now plays Mariah, she did reprise the role as Cassie, and this is the first time that Sharon would have seen her as an adult. And it was crazy because Cameron Grimes, it felt like I was watching a different adult. It was amazing the way that she could really, put herself into that role and go back to playing Cassie. We know that she played Cassie first, but still. But basically, in the interview, Sharon Case, it's another one on TV Insider. Sharon Case talks about the cancer scare and everything that Sharon is going through. And I just want to read a little clip from this. Sharon Case said, "First, thank you. I was very flattered that anyone thought of me when the story came up in the writers' meeting, for her to portray somebody battling cancer, and that I'd be trusted to take it to where it needs to go. And I think you're right. A storyline like this does have a different pace. I enjoy playing that pace. I like to think a lot in my scenes. I like to take more beats. Sometimes that works more for certain storylines, and yes, this is one of them. The pacing is familiar to us. It's the way Bill Bell wrote the show. I can jump back into that." All right, so really quickly, let's get to our Caption That. We have, as you can see up on the up on the screen right now, if you're not watching, or if you're listening to this, it is a picture of Theo. This is actually from Monday's episode, which has already aired, so I've seen it. I won't talk about it, but some of you probably have seen it too. They do air it early. This is Theo right after he does a certain rejecting. And so I asked people to caption that. Mary Dell said, "I wanted this moment for so long, and now, Theo, you are so stupid." Kenny Clark says, "I'm so tired. Let me rest my eyes for a sec." So yeah, I just saw this and I was like, yep, we need to talk about this today because it's hilarious. And I can't wait to talk about this episode next week. On our last segment, let's touch on our law moment really fast. So for the long moment, I had two. One was we had Victor talking to Billy saying, "Oh, you want to fight me? Come and fight me then." And it was just hilarious. And then we also had Victoria talking to Victor and basically giving her a victorious fist pump when she decides she's going to officially call things off with Billy and call Billy to talk about how they're going to handle everything with the kids. All right, I think that's all we have time for today. Thank you guys for tuning in this week. My name is Rachel Goodman. You can find me on Twitter at Rach Goodman or on my author Instagram account at Rachel Radner Author. As I mentioned earlier, we also have our at Restless Rap page on Facebook. And so be sure to catch me next week on Sunday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Have a great week, everybody.
Our founder, Kevin Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.